Thank you for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, Israel and Hamas agreeing to speed up the release of Israeli hostages, with 6 coming back Saturday in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. But the terror group will reportedly also be returning the remains of dead hostages as well on Thursday, including a mother and her 2 children. Death threats and other violence, that's what Jews are facing today in the United Kingdom. We're going to show you the dangers and who's helping them. And our Studio 5 interview with singer and songwriter Jon Shabaglian, who uses scripture in his melodies. We're going to hear our conversation with him about his music for the Lord. All those stories and more right now on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We began a busy Wednesday in the Middle East, where Israel and Hamas have agreed to speed up the exchange of hostages in Gaza in return for Palestinian prisoners. Hamas says it will release 6 hostages this coming Saturday. The terror group also says it will return the remains of 4 dead hostages Thursday, including a mother and her 2 children. But Israeli officials caution they cannot confirm the report until the remains are identified. Chris Mitchell brings us the story now. He reports from Jerusalem.
What's coming Thursday may be one of the hardest blows to the heart of Israelis yet. A senior Hamas official says the terror group will release 4 bodies Thursday, and among them will be 9-month-old Kfir Bibas, 4-year-old Ariel Bibas, and their mother, Shiri Bibas.
This is what Hamas is sharing. We knew there was a possibility that they didn't make it.
However, the Israeli government insists the fate of the Bibas family can't be confirmed until their identities are verified. Relatives of Shiri, Ariel, and Kfir released this statement. We want to make it clear that while we are aware of these reports, we have not yet received any official confirmation regarding this matter. Until we receive definitive confirmation, our journey is not over. The IDF weighed in, saying it urges the public to rely only on announcements from official sources and to refrain from spreading rumors that harm the families of the hostages and the public. In an emotional reunion, Yarden Bibas, the father and husband, was released in the hostage exchange on February 1st. He's still waiting to know the fate of his wife and children. For many, the Bibas family has become the most well-known of the hostages. The video of a terrified mother clutching her babies has become the emblem of the cruelty of Hamas on October 7th and for more than 500 days. On a CBN News YouTube interview with Raj Nir, Mark Holloway expressed the heart of many.
I'm not sure what to make of this besides just being shattered. These 2 children and their mothers have, everybody's seen their videos being taken from their homes at gunpoint, and the iconic red hair, and it just is in everybody's mind. Everybody's been praying for the Bibas family just because of their age. They're young. Who takes hostages, who are babies, who are sleeping in the cribs, just yanks them out of their home.
Along with this potentially heartbreaking news is the announcement that Hamas will release all at once the remaining 6 alive hostages set to be free in Phase 1 of the ceasefire this Saturday. On Tuesday, at the Washington Hebrew congregation, they marked 500 days after October 7th with a national prayer for the return of all hostages.
Chris Mitchell joins us now with more. So, Chris, what is the news of the Bibas family doing to the nation of Israel?
Well, it's just gripping them, Ephraim. There's 2 iconic images from October 7th. One was Noah Aragami. You may remember she was the one who was kidnapped and taken off on a motorcycle and just screaming for some help. The other one is what we just saw, Shiri Bibas clutching her 2 children. I would say it's probably on the conversation of most everybody here in Israel. Really has gripped the nation. I talked to one Israeli earlier today, and she was just saying how evil this was. How do you kidnap babies? And also, it's just so probably the most emotional day, I think, maybe tomorrow, if they truly identify Shiri Bibas and her 2 sons. And everyone's heart goes out as well to Yarden, because he was kidnapped as well on October 7th and really didn't know the fate of his wife and 2 sons. So, yeah, probably the most emotional time in a long time will be tomorrow or when the final identification is done, Ephraim.
Yeah, heartbreaking indeed. Let's turn now to phase 2 of this ceasefire deal. How many more hostages could be released in that phase of the agreement?
Well, right now, they're saying that maybe all of them could be. There are 59 remaining hostages. We understand that 35 of them are confirmed dead. That would mean 24 alive. 4 more bodies in phase 1, and that would mean the 4 bodies tomorrow, and then 6 alive hostages Saturday, and then the next Saturday there would be 4 more bodies given back to Israel. But Hamas says if all the hostages are released, they would also mean the end of the war and the pullout of all Israeli forces. And so, Ephraim, that's really been the dilemma from the very beginning. Israel is saying there's going to be no more Gaza after the war, with Hamas still remaining. And Hamas is saying, well, they're not leaving until the ceasefire becomes permanent.
Now, as you just said, Prime Minister Netanyahu reportedly wants phase 2 to say that no, Hamas will no longer be in Gaza and the Palestinian Authority will not rule in that area either. How will Hamas likely be responding to that?
Well, like I said, Ephraim, the Hamas group wants to would be disarmed and have no presence in Gaza. That's what Netanyahu wants in phase 2. The PA barred as well, and we can talk about that. But Hamas really is not accepting that as terms. They want to make sure that that Israel in phase 2 will completely leave Gaza. Now, the PA is another been promised by others or proposed by others, and they're being barred by Israel, or at least Israel saying they don't want them. And the reason being that the Palestinian Authority has much like Hamas, calling for genocide of the Jews, for the destruction of the state of Israel. They also have a policy we've talked to many times called pay to slay, where they're paying terrorists that are in jail. And one thing that was said earlier this week, Ephraim, was Senator Lindsey Graham, and he believes that Saudi Arabia would be the definitive player in time of after Hamas and the day after the war, so to speak, and that Israel would have security control, but there would be Arab nations like Saudi Arabia to help rebuild and de-radicalize the people of Gaza.
So if we can't seal a deal, what is the likelihood of all-out fighting resuming?
Well, it's pretty high. It's pretty high because if Hamas is saying, we're not leaving until the IDF leaves, and Israel is saying, we won't go into Gaza, we won't leave Gaza until Hamas is gone. So you have two competing policies there that remain to be seen, and it looks like fighting resuming is very high. The whole sticking point is the hostages, Ephraim, and the heart of Israelis is just aching that all of their loved ones, even dead or alive, will come out of Gaza, and we'll see what happens. This is such a gripping time and hard time. 500 days that Israelis have gone through this emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, it seems to change day by day now. Israel's ambassador to the U.S. is warning about Egypt's military buildup in Sinai. What can you tell us about that?
Well, actually, Egypt is massing troops, tanks, and military units in the Sinai. The ambassador says this violates the U.S. brokered peace deal with Israel. These are offensive operations and weapons, he says, which is a clear violation of the U.S. brokered peace deal between Egypt and Israel. You can see videos on social media. I've been watching them as well. You see literally masses of tanks there in the Sinai. He's calling it like a creeping annexation, where, originally Egypt was able to come in to confront ISIS. That need is over, and yet they're still in there. There's also something that concerns Egypt, which is the trade deal being proposed by President Trump that would go from India all the way to Israel, and that would bypass the Suez Canal, and that would be very dangerous economically to Israel. And let me just add this final point, Ephraim. Leiter, who is the Israeli ambassador to the U.S., in that prayer, meeting that we talked about, he said that that the resilience of the Jewish people has lasted thousands of years. And he also talked about the Ten Commandments, not only killing people, but murdering people and stealing people. So if anybody has a chance to see that message by the U.S. ambassador, it's very, very inspiring in light of all the things that have gone for the past 500 days.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Chris Mitchell, reporting from Jerusalem. Thank you for your insights. We look forward to connecting with you in the days ahead for more. Coming up, Jews getting death threats and being accosted in the streets. That's what's happening these days in the United Kingdom, where anti-Semitism is on the rise. We're going to show you who's coming to their defense in the face of this extremism. We've got the story for you when we come back. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. Has long been regarded as a safe haven for the Jewish people since the October 7th attacks on Israel. However, anti-Semitic acts have skyrocketed. In fact, a recent poll shows most British Jews have considered leaving the country. Aldir Hurd is on this story. He's reporting from London.
This is the United Kingdom that British Jews experience today.
Zionists, they are filthy animals.
Like obedient sheep, you obey Israel.
The whole condemning Hamas, I'm not going to condemn them, and Israel doesn't exist.
Most British Jews now no longer believe they have a future here. Recent polling has also found that most Jews hide their Jewishness in public and do not feel welcome in the United Kingdom. Gideon Falter is chief executive of Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, which commissioned the poll and has been documenting the rising Jew hatred.
A lot of people have talked about whether they have a future in this country. Do I think the Jewish community in the UK is going to evaporate? No. But I do think there is a sizable conversation now happening within the community of people saying, okay, is this the place that we've got a future?
There were nearly 2,000 anti-Semitic incidents reported in the first half of 2024, the highest number ever recorded for a 6-month period. 9 out of 10 British Jews say the government is not doing enough to stop the violence and discrimination.
I know some who have left. I know some who are actively, seriously looking at leaving.
Jewish investigative journalist David Collier tells us he constantly feels the anti-Jewish hate.
I get death threats every single day, but I'm also being contacted by Jews either who are having trouble at work, at home, students.
What brings you both out here today?
Well, just the amount of anti-Semitism we've had in Oxford for the past year has been really awful. We've had swastikas, we've had Jews being accused of weaponising anti-Semitism.
We've been told we're not welcome at the university.
Yeah, and it just
down the streets.
It's been escalating, and this is the big message. It's about the escalation. You know, it's getting gradually worse.
This in a nation where the adopted national song is Jerusalem. In the song Jerusalem, the British sing, "We will not cease till we have built Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land." But this Judeo-Christian connection that goes back centuries has begun to fray. Surveys show British Jews consider Islamists to be the most serious threat. And in a close second is the far left. Falter adds the nation's young people are being indoctrinated against Jews.
They are becoming radicalized on the internet. They are imbibing bigotries that their parents themselves don't have. And then they're teaching this from one kid to another kid. We've got a generation which is extremely hateful. And not just hateful, they're extremists.
Some non-Jews have seen the danger and are publicly supporting Britain's Jews. Mark Burbeck began the group Our Fight after he witnessed the lack of public support for Jews in Israel following the October 7th massacre.
Shock at the lack of empathy that people had for the Israeli people, the Jewish people, after October the 7th. In that period, a few of us were going to these vigils that were being organised by the Israeli community, and we sort of thought, we need to do something.
Another group supporting Britain's Jews is Christian Action Against Anti-Semitism, led by pastors Tim and Haley Gutman.
Our heart was to do something publicly that showed the Jewish people we stand with them, we love them, we're with them in solidarity. They're not alone, especially amidst this rising anti-Semitism.
David Collier is afraid demographics have already decided the future course of Britain's Jews. The most popular name for baby boys in Britain today is Mohammed.
It's a completely different country. The entire dynamic has changed, the entire atmosphere has changed, both towards Israel and in extension towards the Jewish community. It's completely different. It's a different country with a different demographic, a different outlook. Everything about it is different. You're talking to these Jewish people, and you know that things are only going to get worse for them, not better. There's no way back for the United Kingdom from this point. As far as I see it, no way back.
Falter has decided to stand and fight for the future, with the hope that more non-Jews will join him.
I think a lot of people don't realize how anti-Semitism relates to them, but they don't see it as something that's going to actually hit home, hit them. Whatever happens with anti-Semitism in this country, if extremism continues to surge in the way that it is now, this country's in for dark days, and so is the West.
Dale Hurd, CBN News, London.
Still ahead, turning to the world of Christian music and worship, our interview with singer and songwriter who uses scripture as melodies. We're going to have that interview with Mr. Shabaglian when we come back. Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. Jon Shabaglian is a singer and songwriter known for his soulful vocals and spirit-filled melodies. And he's also a mentor to other worshipers.
Keeping his covenant of love to 1,000 generations.
Where did the music journey for Jon begin? Was it mom, dad? Where did it begin?
I got 1,700 years of Christianity in my Armenian bloodline from my dad. And then I got this like psalmist peacemaking man from the Mennonites from my mom. And they would sing in 4-part harmony, and they were pacifists, and there was like this peacemaking thing. And then, you know, my grandparents fled from the Armenian genocide.
Wow.
And so those two precious lines collided. My parents couldn't have kids. As the story goes, my mom prayed to loan a child to God and gave birth to my brother. And then the doctor said, push again. And she's like, what do you mean? And out I came.
Oh, wow.
And so I got a twin brother. We're 8 minutes apart. And he's the athlete and I'm the artist. So he was like the chiseled Greek god physique, and I was the fat kid who could sing high.
Know therefore that the Lord your God is God. He is a faithful God.
So where did the heart for sort of mentoring and guiding other worshipers come from?
So that is a very astute question, because the honest answer is the Lord actually took the vacuum in my life of having mentors and gave me a burden in my early 20s, 30s, and now 40s to raise up others way before I'm laying on my deathbed. And it was actually the longing to have, I was like, I wouldn't have used the word psalmist till way later. I didn't, God, you know, those were his words about 7 years ago. I didn't really speak like that, but I was looking like, where's the amazing artist who like writes music, sings like an angel, and still has the same wife? Dude, I couldn't find him. Okay, just being honest, I couldn't find him. And I know a lot of people, I sang on almost every continent at this point. Like I've been in a lot of places and there's not many of them. And then you add some music ministry and churches for years, and you know, some great leaders, and then dodging spears from Saul by other leaders, and you know, you got rejection on multiple different levels, and the Lord basically used the vacuum, like, God, would you send me mentors? And it was like he was like, son, you share what I show you. And so the honest answer is it was out of the hole of not having that I had this burden way before I'm at the end of my life being like, we got to raise up an army.
Now the single that's out now, your latest, is called Adonai. What happened? Where did that come from?
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, it's called Adonai Deliverance Song. That's the name, that's the Hebrew name for God. And I understand, yeah, he's a deliverer. And actually, the song was birthed out of a deep place of sorrow. Most people don't know that. This leader from the Mount of Olives sends me a message, said, John, I was driving to go pick up harps for 3 hours, praying, and I felt a strong impression that I was supposed to ask you to come to our 30th anniversary of the All Nations Convocation in Jerusalem during October 7th. And so in the fullness of God, Iran's launching missiles in the sky, they're canceling my flights, and somehow I make it to Israel. I got to cross the border by a vehicle, can't even get into the country. And a couple hours later, we debuted Adonai Deliverance Song to a nation in mourning.
For more on Jon's life and work, you can visit his website at jonshabaglian.com. And tonight, we've got an all-new episode of Studio 5. We're going to give you a first look at the inspirational film, The Unbreakable Boy. It is based on the true story. It's going to make you laugh, cry, and cheer for sure. Plus, Dr. Ian Smith is joining us to talk about his new book, Eat Your Age. And we're going to look at the film Boardwalk Winter. You can catch the all-new episode of Studio 5 on the CBN News Channel at 8 Eastern. You can also watch it on the CBN News app, or you can watch it on YouTube. Coming right back with an encouraging word for your day ahead. Stay with us. Hey, got a Wednesday word for you. That word is love. Know this, love is more than a word. It's a choice and it demands action. Choose love and show love. Don't just say you love. You need to do so much more. Remember, God so loved, He gave. He modeled it for us in Jesus, His Son, and He gave us the power to love with the gift of the Holy Spirit. That will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time, as well as online at cbnnews.com. Let us know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. We'll see you back here tomorrow.